Yeah, hear me, Baz? Sweet. Oh, nice. Some background audience as well. All right. Welcome to Sitemate's first ever Fireside chat, I think. So yeah, hopefully it's a good session. As a reminder, the topic is what top go-to-market players do that others don't. So we've got Jordan, who does many things that go-to-market players typically do not. So welcome, Jordan. We've got we've got TT, who also does many things that other go-to-market players do not. Sonia, who's obviously been doing many things that many other people in North America have not as well, because she's still here hanging with us. So yeah, and then Kira, who a little bit of a different one as well. Kira's obviously been with us for less time, so it's more so the fast-tracked aspect of this conversation, which is has its own kind of angle, and should be interesting to a bunch of people in the team as well who are looking to, I'm sure, fast-track their careers as well. So we'll go cycle through a few topics. Hopefully, mostly just prompt, and then you guys can kind of respond. We'll go through whoever kind of has the quickest or most I guess who feels the need to answer the most initially. We'll open up to the audience as well. There should be a mic that Sean has. So if you have questions, we might be okay with questions without mic, but let's see how we go. Ideally, I'll try to moderate as much as possible, and we'll go through the questions, and then obviously if you have any questions, then fire away. So we'll start with probably my like favorite aspect of top performance. The one that I think about most, I guess, which is habits and mechanics of top performers. So first question we'll start with, can start with you, Jordan, is when you think about the best people you've worked with here at Sitemate, what do they do consistently that others don't?
Yep. I guess, so habits and mechanics. Probably first is, I think they think about things. Sounds a bit odd to say, but you can kind of either operate in two, I guess, categories, and it's kind of like default passenger category where you're just kind of running on autopilot. And then there's the other side of that, which is you're actually reflecting, and there's probably like there's a certain amount of like automatic points within your day-to-day that are going to happen and kind of evolve. But I think on anything meaningful, and as you're taking time to reflect, actually thinking through things and thinking about optimal outcomes before you kind of proceed. Again, like through that, it's probably also modeling or mirroring others and other top performers on the team, and just having that kind of reflection.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. TT?
So I think, a lot of what Jordan said is pretty accurate. I think also its ability to be completely adaptable while sticking to like the core ethics and like values of how the top performers do provide. And I think it's very much like a pretty 70-30 split of like 70% the cultures of the people that you do work with, what they do well, while another 30% of like the individualistic stylization that you do put on things. So like you've got the playbooks, you've got like calls that you can listen to, and you can either copy word for word, but it's never like a one-size-fits-all. And I think it's putting your own individual spin on it while basically maintaining the sort of values of how everything's done here in a successful way is truly the way to, one, put your own stamp on it, but see continued and consistent success.
There's a follow-up question about that as well that I have that we'll dive into once we cycle through this, because I think it's a super interesting aspect.
Yeah, really good points from the both of you. Sorry. I would say another thing I would add would be just discipline, and also just finding motivation in the little things in the day-to-day, because we obviously it can get mundane. We do a lot of the same things, same calls over and over, and just finding the little things that motivate you and keeping that discipline in terms of like how you're structuring your day, when you're starting, when you're ending, time blocks, just the little things that keep things moving while staying efficient, and kind of getting the most out of the little tasks that you're doing. I would say, those are the top things.
Kira?
Yeah, I think, excuse me. I think I would like second what TT said about the like playbooks, and obviously like we have so many like frameworks and strategies that we can follow at Sitemate that like are so outlined and obviously been tried and tested by you. So yeah, consistently following those, and then just being consistent in general. So like there's obviously days where, especially in SDR, I think as well, like coming from that role that, you don't always want to like make all of those calls every day, but like the people who just do it anyways on their bad days, like those are the days that actually matter as well and end up actually providing the best results.
Nice. So yeah, sounds like an element of grit, definitely. And then yeah, I think the feedback loop on yourself is a super interesting one. Obviously, everyone thinks about their job that does it here, but there's kind of like there's thinking about it, and then there's coming out of something and really kind of deeply thinking about it. And one person as well that I know does that very often is Leah. I don't know where she is or if she's here, but Leah's really good at that as well, like coming out of things, and you don't even have to prompt her. She's already thinking about what she could have done better, and it's actually really obvious when someone does that. So yeah, good one. Kind of on top of that, one of your comments, TT, which I think is interesting, especially at Sitemate, because we have the values of everything engineered, and particularly everything engineered, I suppose. How do you guys balance being coachable versus and or including your own style? Which I think is it's an interesting one, and it's actually very nuanced. So yeah, interested to hear your guys' thoughts on how you think about being both coachable and also being able to apply your own style.
Yeah, I think with coachability, it kind of depends like at what kind of stage you're coming in at. At the start, you basically just want to be a sponge, whether it's you're new to the company or in a new role. There probably hits a point where you start to kind of iterate on your own. We have great operating principles, playbooks, values that are all there to leverage. So I think in terms of coachability, yeah, it's never something that actually ends up leaving top performers. You're always coachable. I mean, I think Jamie is a great example. The humility that he came in with at SDR kind of transferred all the way through until the very end when he made the move over to enterprise, and now I know he goes in kind of with that same mindset. So that's a huge one. Yeah, probably pass it.
I think like the core aspect of it, and I'll always be able to reference my team, like when I'd Fiat joined my team, obviously I worked with Dan in mid-market, and then we both moved to SMB, and I think it's the core thing of, it doesn't really, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter how you get there as long as you're going after the same thing. So like if you look at the frameworks, which is, if you look at the discovery framework, it's about getting the anchor. However you want to do it in your best fashion, which best suits you, because people will buy from people won't buy from salespeople. Like if you look at the clientele, if you're able to put your individualistic spin on it, then however you get there, it allows you to sort of flourish better in terms of your own behaviour, because you're actually acting like yourself while still having that core drive in the back of your mind of what you're going to get out of that conversation. And obviously there's like key buzzwords and phrases that you can say to get that input and the output as a result of it, but it's the humanistic approach where you're still coachable around side. Basically, this is what you have to get, and then we'll work on what the best, most suited approach is for yourself and your body language and how you actually sort of convey that information.
Nice.
Yeah, just to go off of what Jordan said, I think it's really important when you're starting to just be a sponge and absorb everything you can. And then from there, once you've kind of got a grasp of what all the frameworks are and how those principles go, then kind of slowly starting to incorporate, your way and your kind of personality into it. But that said, I think at any level, you should always be open to evolving. I mean, the market's changing, the customer needs are changing, things are always evolving, the company's growing, the product. So just always being open to that. And yeah, just kind of remembering that, we're following the same frameworks, but we're not robots at the end of the day. So just, kind of finding little ways to put your spin on it and your personality. And I think a great way to think about it is, like the CS team in NA, we're all so different personality-wise. We all do such a great job of following those frameworks, but tackling things maybe a little bit differently. And sometimes there's no like right or wrong answer to how you approach certain things. But yeah, just kind of being open-minded and also learning from each other. Like one thing we always do is when we have our call reviews, we all kind of give our take on, hey, like, yeah, you approached it this way. This is my take. And we all have a little bit of a different take. And obviously, sometimes there could be a slightly wrong answer, but yeah, I think it's just interesting to always be open to listening to everyone else and how they would go about certain things and learning that. And even as a manager, like I am always learning from you guys, and I always like take what you guys' feedback is and even implement it in my day-to-day as well with my own accounts. So
Nice.
Yeah, I think, sorry, my voice. Yeah, I think for me, it is like always seeking feedback. Like we obviously have a great cadence for like one-to-ones, pipeline reviews. Like, you know, we're very good for providing feedback as a company in general. But like as you get more familiar and more comfortable with like different frameworks and different like playbooks, for example, like you'll obviously like strengthen in different areas, and then obviously there's other areas that you can always improve on. So it's like actively seeking out that feedback from management as well.
Yeah, all good answers. I think the way that I think about style within go-to-market, I suppose, is although we have everything engineered, we've never had a single script at Sitemate, like not one script. And I think it just speaks to like, we coach around principles and frameworks and playbooks. Like you can even tell it in the name, right? They're frameworks and playbooks. Like it's not a script. And we've talked about it with a few people, like funnily enough, me and Hartley are usually the ones that go outside of the frameworks and scripts and kind of do our own, you know, stylistic take on it because there's always discretion. So yeah, I think that's the way I think about it is, you know, everyone has their own style. You want everyone to have their own style. That's what feels organic to them and genuine to other people. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Like I think you can lean on people who understand the playbooks, frameworks, etc., to understand whether it's style or a deviation from that as well, because it can be somewhat nuanced. But yeah, it is interesting because I think we've never lent on scripts at all internally, and most other companies who aren't everything engineered actually lean heavily on scripts. So it kind of goes back to the robot comment a little bit as well.
Just before you, sorry, just before you move on, I just wanted to double down on what Kira said about seeking it out, like intentionally seeking out feedback. I think is one of actually the biggest indicators of when someone's going to be successful and when someone isn't. I've seen both. Just like thinking about whether you, I guess, yeah. The one question that I just put to yourself, and you know, some of you, this answer will be quite easy, is do you actually want to be a top performer? And I think if you don't, then that's a different story, but just be honest with yourself. If you do, then you're opting in, and again, like seeking feedback, going out there and looking for it is kind of like taking initiative and ownership.
For sure. Yeah, also one that's pretty obvious as well. Okay, we'll move on to conversion and execution, which, yeah, is a big part of being a top performer, of course. So yeah, we talked about kind of high level stuff there. I think it's important that we cover some kind of tactics as well, probably a little bit easier to implement for people. So I guess, yeah, what's something small in your process, and obviously you'll have different process because different roles as well. Like it could be a step in your demo, could be a prep or like, you know, prep step or something in a follow-up email, something like that, that change your close rate or success rate the most. So if you think back to one thing that you kind of consciously changed that you felt like had the biggest impact, what would you say that is? Oh, Kira's got one, nice.
Okay, this is going to sound really silly, but obviously from a CS standpoint, it was just getting really deep into that relationship aspect with my customers. Like, I really take the time to get to know them, their families, their interests, hobbies, sports, like anything I can find to connect with them on has made a huge difference, and really helps build that rapport, that trust, obviously while still being serious in the calls and acting as, you know, almost like an advisor and consultant so that they can trust you when it comes to the business side of things, but also have that really personal, deep relationship. And yeah, I think that's made a huge difference for me. I get clients who like send me pictures of their son's hockey tournaments and like update me on just random things, and like we'll just talk and send emails back and forth even when there's like maybe nothing really going on. But that made like a huge difference for me when I started taking just maybe that 5-10 minutes each call to just kind of have a little side chat with them.
That's super interesting. I don't know about any of the CS people, but I actually have not thought about or considered that aspect of it. Probably because I don't focus too much on the relationship. But no, it's awesome. Yeah, great takeaway. And I think, like, yeah, I mean, I think people can implement that pretty easily. And again, it comes back to style. Like, you probably don't want to force it with that kind of stuff as well. Like, you're a very personable person. But yeah, like, great takeaway there. So yeah, good one.
I think the biggest thing that I changed, obviously in the sort of full cycle role, is I spent like a lot of time just thinking, right, if I just get to demo, I'll be able to sell it on features, product, whatever it is. So discovery was just like a sort of a 5-10 minute. I felt like I just had to, like, tell me what your company does. Right, cool. Yeah, how many users you got? Yeah, cool. Right, do you want to do health and safety? Yeah, cool. Okay, why do you want it? Yeah, that's fine. Right, let's just get into it. Like, the minute I get into it, I think I can sell it. And now about sort of like a year and a half ago, I completely sort of changed my approach, and it was very much a 20-minute discovery, and like I'd spend as much time talking to him before I share my screen as well as slides and demos. So it's like 20 minutes discovery, 20 minutes slide and demo. Purely on the premise that if you get all the information, your demo needs to be short, succinct, and actually completely targeted, and it is that complete prescription. The minute you prescribe it, you simply just go, does that work? Yep. Are you confident? Yep. Right, what do we need to get this off the ground? And it's as simple as that. And I think that completely changed all my conversion. Literally just that one simple thing where you actually do need to get all that information, and the Anchor framework completely exists for that reason.
Nice. Kira?
Two kind of small things that like are actually part of the frameworks and like should be pretty obvious, but one is that question at the end where you basically ask, like, after what I've shown you today, how confident do you feel that this will solve XYZ? Like, sometimes I think we can kind of like dance around that question because it might feel a bit direct, but like, if you're not asking that question, you don't know for certain if they are confident. And if there's any hint of doubt, well then, you know, it's hard to then progress that up. So yeah, I ask that question in every one of my demos, and it obviously gives me the insight into whether, like, are they going to buy? Are they not? If they're not confident, what do I need to do to progress next steps? And then with that as well, the idea of like not just reaching out just to kind of like touch base or like, you know, see how things are going, like finding that good balance between, you know, spending time on getting that like context from that previous conversation, but like driving value in the next step, like trying not to just reach out to people for the sake of reaching out to them. Like, how am I going to actually push this along? Like, I'm not just going to call them for the fun of it. Like, what do I need to do today to actually move it to the next step?
Yeah, makes sense. It's actually probably a good question to think about asking top performers as they progress as well. So, you know, even like as Jamie as an example, in Enterprise now, or Katie in EU Enterprise, if you ask, and like mine always changes as well, if you ask that person, you know, every 3 months or so, like, what's the one thing that you do that you feel like makes the biggest difference, they'll probably give you something that's like slightly different each time, and it can be like a huge unlock, like that single thing. And one of the ones that that one's just a classic. Like, if you ask that question, it's just like, it gives you either full confidence or not, and it ties into a lot of things in go-to-market forecasting, whether you close one, like all of that good stuff. The other one is, with the closing call, when I realized that when, you know, you ask at the start of the call, what do you need to see today in order to move forward? And I know Charlie's been using it well, which is why he closes $6,000 deals all the time. It's like, once you do that, you can't unsee it. And then you just like bake that into your process moving forward. And then you continuously layer on top of that and get better and better over time. So it can be as small as like one thing that you say each time that can have, I mean, a profound impact on outcomes as well.
Yeah, just to, I think I'd probably add on to Sonia's point just around the conversational aspect to our jobs. The like kind of default setting that I experienced when I started was that you're in a commercial role, like you're trying to sell them something, And obviously, like, that is the goal. But it basically takes away from the actual conversation itself when you have an outcome or an objective in mind. So yeah, really kind of taking, whether it's on a demo or a CS call or an SDR call, like, I think one of the biggest hacks that I had later on was just reminding myself that it's a conversation first. If it doesn't feel like a conversation to you, it doesn't feel like a conversation to them. So, you know, there's that kind of like idea. It should feel like you're talking to them as if you met them in the pub. Use it all the time. You know, you wouldn't go up to someone and say, out of interest, like, what do you do for work? You just be like, what do you do for work? It would just kind of like, it's hard almost to convey it. Sometimes it's more like tone and just energy. But I think, like, again, it's thinking about that before you get into it. That's probably the biggest difference for me.
Yeah, it's a good one. And I think you get better at it the longer you're in go-to-market. The filler words, which is, you see it pretty much everyone who's never sold before, you know, do you mind if I ask? And it's like, again, like, would you ask someone that you know that? No, you wouldn't. You just ask the question. Otherwise, if you say it, people actually then think it's weird as well. So you're not only like not helping, you're actually like hindering the outcome as well. So all those little things, yeah, again, like after many calls, you just basically skim them out over time. But it takes someone saying it oftentimes to actually realize it and then, you know, continuously iterate.
Sorry, can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
Just to Kira's point, I kind of want to emphasize the point on being blunt for the CSMs in here
Nice.
because, yeah, I actually think that's a huge aspect to the way I approach things as well. I'm just naturally a pretty direct person, so it comes easily to me. But I think it's important to remember that, like, yes, we're good cops, we're trying to be helpful, but I also think they're. I think the clients really appreciate when you're just like really direct and you're like, no, that's a bad idea, and like just a slight bit of bad cop. Sorry, don't kill me, Hartley. Just yeah, sometimes being a bad cop does really help, and you like helps them kind of understand that, okay, yeah, you're not just going to be a yes man to everything, and you're going to tell them when they're going down the wrong path. So just being okay with just being direct and just kind of being like no and laying it out how it is when things aren't going the way that they should be. Yeah,
Just on to add on to that from like a new business perspective, you'll also get a lot more respect if you're like just a lot more direct. It's like it's always the conversation that Greg's always said, you can either be a doctor or a nurse. If you go to a nurse and say, I've got a headache, she'll just give you some paracetamol, and like, I need paracetamol, she'll give you paracetamol. But if you go to a doctor and go, I've got a headache, can I have some paracetamol, they'll ask for questions that they need to actually understand, and they prescribe the right solution based off that. It's not, and if a customer just comes to you and asks you those questions, you go, yeah, we could do that, yeah, we could do that, yeah, we could do that. Instead of actually prescribing the right thing that they actually need, they will respect you a lot more and trust you to actually buy the platform, as an example, because they actually I'm not just buying from a salesperson who is just going to say yes to every single thing that I ever ask. It's, no, they're actually giving me what I actually need out of this. And hence the reason why, like, our DQ rates at an AE are higher than the majority of businesses, because we're not going to just push someone through the funnel and just go, right, well, hopefully it will work. If it doesn't work from the start, from the open conversation you have, it's probably not going to work later on, and there's no point having that conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Any questions so far? We're kind of almost roughly halfway through. So yeah, any questions on any of the comments so far? Seth? Oh, you definitely need the microphone.
Yes. Oh my God. No, just to add like the first thing that Sonia said about the relationship. In CS works really well, but I remember Jamie when he was an SDR, now he's A, right? Saying that what works pretty well for him to convert to demo was actually asking them the first minute or 2 minutes, oh, like, what are you doing? Like, how is your weekend after the second call? Because they weren't feeling, as Jordan said, that it was a sale. And I remember when he said that, I was like, oh, I'm going to try that when I call my customers. And instead of asking, oh, how's that people going, straight away, I was like, hey, like, how was the weekend? How's lunch system going? How's the weather? Like, oh, okay, cool, your kids on holidays, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the conversation, I was, oh, by the way, do you have 2 minutes to talk about that pivot by any chance? And they're like, oh, yeah, sure. Like, and I ended up having a 30-minute call with a lot of insight, or maybe like potential, like, CSQL and so on. So building relationships is not only important for CS, but also for sales. So then you can actually, like, as Tom was saying, I'm not a sales guy. I'm actually like just want to help you. And also I understand your daily basics and so on, and I get to know you. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point. And the only comment I'd make for, I guess like across roles is it can be like relatively role specific, this stuff as well. As an example, at SDR, probably don't ask how your weekend was if it's the first call you ever make to them. So again, it's context, right? Like you need to use the context of how much time you have and the nature of the conversation. But yeah, again, if you can build rapport, obviously rapport always helps.
You can build rapport in ways that are productive as well, and I think that's the way you should probably look at it. At least this is how I see it at SDR. If you have pipeline leads, this would apply AE, AMs, yes, and you're calling them back, you've spoken to them before, they're like, oh, call me back next week because I'm really busy on a project. The logical question to ask them when you call them back is, how's that project going? It actually like gets the conversation going, you're showing interest in what they're doing, there's rapport out of that. But it also gives you an insight into what they're doing right now. Like day to day, our prospects' priorities change, and if you are still operating on the conversation that you had with them last time, and you have a new conversation with them now, a lot can happen. So think about building productive conversations, I guess.
Yeah, agreed. Anything else, or we'll move on? All right, cool. Okay, so we'll move into like mindset and ownership. So this one actually kind of falls into two categories, but important one in any commercial role. How to top reps handle rejection or pushback differently, and then also Sonia, definitely relevant to CS as well on the pushback side. How do you handle pushback differently again? And I'm sure you see it probably ties relatively closely into the, being a doctor, being firm, all of that stuff. But anything else that you guys think of as well?
So I think when it comes to rejection and pushback, it's a twofold approach, which is the first one is having an emotional attachment to, like from a sales perspective, opportunities. If you have a completely invested emotional attachment, if it doesn't happen, it will provide great distress, and it will impact every other piece of work that you do. And fundamentally, like, it's one of the hardest things to do is have that emotional detachment from it, because you want it to happen because you want the deal, you want to hit your quota, you want the money, fundamentally. But if everything is relying on this and it doesn't come through and you are emotionally invested in this, then it's going to impact all of the rest of your work, so you're not able to do so. And I think that's mainly sort of a sales maturity perspective. Like the more months, more weeks, more years you end up doing this, it's the easier to sort of pick it up. But in terms of actually sort of dealing with it, it's about peeling back the layers, understanding why that's the case, and it can two things. Ooh, sorry, everyone. Which is one, it's something potentially that you've done, which you're able to then, and it goes back to what sort of Jordan said in terms of a sort of self-reflection feedback, being able to say, this didn't come through, I understand why, can your manager help you actually sort of get through this, to understand where you can sort of change. But there's also the aspect of it may not just be you, and then if you have an emotional attachment to it, it completely falls through, it impacts all the rest of your work, but it potentially wasn't actually something that yourself did, because you followed all the frameworks, all the playbooks in the right way. It's just, it happens. And I think that's the sort of key thing from it, which is peeling back the layers, understanding exactly why that happened, and then you are able to be constructive from it, while also over time being able to emotionally detach from deals. Yeah.
Yeah, before you jump into Sonia, the way that I'd try to explain that probably is I think about it just as in like control what you can control and literally completely ignore the rest. Because like you can learn from what you can control, but like what's outside of your control, there's nothing to learn there. It's just like, well, that happened. So getting hung up on things that are outside of your control. And I think, we've done that pretty well as a company in general. Like we don't focus on too much what's outside of our control. We don't think about competitors very much, which people are often confused about. And it's because like, well, what's the point? Like that's not us. Like we can't control that. So and it goes down to the individual, 100% to the individual layer. The big difference, it comes back to the feedback loop and everything. It's like if you're focusing on what you can control and your feedback loop is on that, you're going to get better really quickly. If you're focusing on what's outside of your control, you're going to like spin yourself into distress.
It's just wasted effort.
It's wasted energy. So super important to just like and it's hard. It's a habit, and you build it over time. But like as much as possible, you need to constantly remind yourself, like, don't think about the things that are outside of my control. And it is hard because it's a pretty natural thing to do.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I would kind of take it in 3 stages. And the first being just listen, hear them out, and just be compassionate. Usually if there's pushback on anything, they're probably struggling on one aspect or another. When it comes to running their workflows or business, especially in SMB, the resources are tight. So just don't get defensive, hear them out, be really genuine in that conversation and just let them, put it all out there.
Yeah.
And then I think kind of the next step from there is just kind of resonate with them, give them their options, just kind of bring it back to the anchor. The anchor is so important, and that was such a game changer, like, because I'd been here before, we had the anchor, and just being able to go back to that and being like, hey, okay, this is why you're here, this is what was happening before, and just kind of remind them, because I think a lot of the times our customers are kind of looking for a system that does everything, which is kind of unreasonable a lot of the times, but just kind of remind them, like, okay, listen, I know you're like 90% there, but that's a lot. That's a huge progress, and just kind of reminding them, and just kind of highlighting the progress they have made, because I think sometimes they forget and they get frustrated, and it is sometimes a big learning curve for certain individuals. So just kind of be encouraging, hear them out, and then once you kind of lay out all the steps, it's like, okay, where do we go from here? Next steps, and just try to be helpful. I think where it goes wrong is when you get defensive, and I've seen that in CS, where something goes wrong, and then you immediately like kind of offended because you've put in so much work, and that never lands well. So I think just listen, be compassionate, resonate, and just give them like 2 to 3 options. Never give them one option. Always give them. I always go for 3, but 2 works as well.
Nice. Kira, anything on your side?
I think the guys here have covered really well the obviously leaning into objections and the anchor. I won't cover that again, but anyone who's actually worked under Jordan in SDR, I think we all have ingrained in our brains on the dealing with it side, not to focus on the outcome. In SDR perspective, don't focus on booking the demo.
Yeah.
In AE perspective, don't focus on closing the deal. Focus on the conversation, being genuinely curious, and just completely detach yourself from the outcome, and just ensure that you have that quality piece down. That's something that we all spoke about quite often in that team, and I know we all talk about it all the time, that it's something that really elevated all of us, because we're not focusing on getting that demo booked or getting that deal closed. We're just focusing on what we can control, like what you said, Lance, and our input, our quality, and then the results will follow.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. And it's funny because the 2 themes so far are basically, one is be emotionless and don't feel, and then the other one is feel a lot and care a lot. So the critical thing is being able to balance what you care about and what you don't care about at all. And I think it actually ties into everything through to leadership as well. And Greg, you Sean can probably speak to it. It's you have to care about some stuff, and then you have to literally completely ignore the other stuff. And you just only have so much energy, time, bandwidth, all of that stuff as well. So, I think top performers learn maybe quickly, but also maybe slowly, just where to invest energy, and that compounds over time, right? So you look at people and you're like, how have they accelerated their career so fast? It's just because those little things that they've done, they're compounding over time, and then, the next time you look at it, it looks dramatically different.
Maybe I'll just add in, I think with rejection, if you look just objectively at any top performer, they are actually kind of indifferent about rejection. It almost doesn't have, there's no emotional reaction. Pretty much everyone touched on it here, but it's just kind of an extreme detachment from the outcome, and focusing on what you can control. Realistically, you're not at risk physically. You're not going to get attacked by a bear or something. You're just having a conversation with someone, and I think just putting that into perspective, it's just a conversation.
Yep. Nice. Okay, this one. So top performers often see themselves as mini CEOs, or at least act like it. What does that mean to you, I guess? And you kind of talked about it with ownership, but I guess how do you think about that kind of at Sitemate specifically, and then as an individual, like how do you think about being an owner, of and however you perceive that? So it could be within your role, it could be within your function, but yeah, what do you think about being a mini CEO, which is something that's thrown around pretty often?
Well, first of all, we are owners. We have equity in the company, so there's literally that. Like, you're actually an owner in the company. We have complete control of the outcome of the company. So I think, again, just like appreciating that, kind of appreciating as well where you joined, like the company and at what stage we're in right now. We're early. We're going to look back on this time at 150, 160 people and be 1,000 plus in headcount, and it's going to be a ridiculously different story. As far as like an individual ownership, I think this one, yeah, the way saying that I really like is the way that you do anything is the way that you do everything. So there shouldn't really be anything that's beneath you as far as like tasks or coachability. Pretty much every topic that we've spoken about now. Just really kind of I guess chasing that on a daily basis. It is a mindset.
Basically what Jordan said.
Nice. Thanks, CT.
Yeah, I would say what Jordan said is probably at the core what just motivates me so much on the day-to-day. And it's just, kind of the mission and the vision of where I want Sitemate to go, because Sitemate's success is ultimately my success. So that's just kind of the way I see it. Just kind of always being willing to help in any way, function, facet you can. Going out of the scope of your role, just kind of, it doesn't matter what my role is. I just kind of want to help in any way I can is just kind of my mindset. And when it comes to the way I see just as like an employee, not so much the client facing, is just the way you manage yourself up as well. Like, I think always taking initiative and kind of going back to what I was saying with always coming up with a solution whenever there's a problem. I don't just kind of go up and complain and it's like, okay, what do I do now? It's like, have a think about it, reflect on it, come up with 3 options. That's always my kind of thing, is like, okay, what are the solutions here? And then kind of bring that forward, because if you can manage yourself up and kind of remove those pains from your manager, director, whoever you're reporting to, I think that's huge, because then you're coming forward with a solution and you're showing that you want to make things better as well, and you're contributing, and you're not just kind of laying problems out on the person that you're reporting to. So I think that's huge, and that's how I've always operated kind of from the start of my career.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I think it's a great one. It's super obvious when when someone comes to you with solutions versus problems. You don't kind of notice it the first time, but you kind of notice it after it, like it's a pattern, and you start to feel like it's like, I don't know how to help you if you kind of just come to me with problems, but if you give me a few solutions, it's actually quite easy for me to help you, because I can just kind of steer. And I think it is what an owner would do as well. It's like, be a mini CEO, like come up with a few solutions, and then your manager can like support you and guide you through that. It also does one other thing, which is super critical. It forces you to think about solutions. And oftentimes most of us are like much better at thinking about solutions than we think, but we don't think about solutions. So like it's easy to think about problems, and I have problems and I could just go to Hartley, but I know what that's going to do, so I don't do that, and I think about solutions, and then I come up with a few things, and usually like by the time it gets to Hartley, we only have to iterate on like 5 or 10%, right? Because I've done the majority of the work, and then Hartley can literally think like, oh, like I like working with Lance because I don't have to like do all of his stuff, right? Like he just comes to me with most of the solution, and then I'll do the rest. And over time, you build trust, and then that person borderline, you don't even need to be involved, and that's like Jordan for me. It's like in the early days, if you came to me with something, it'd probably be like 60, 70% there, and I'd have to iterate on 30 or 40. And over time, as you come up with more solutions yourself, I'm just like less and less and less. And now it's, it'd be the same. I'd be just applying 5 or 10% of context, which would be impossible for Jordan to have given he's not sitting in the same role. And then, my job's made infinitely easier as well. So yeah, it also is a habit. Like just think about it before you post something or say something to someone. Like, what's a couple of things that will help you kind of like think through it and get close to an answer? it's not an answer because you need often need the kind of green light or sign off from that person. But it's usually pretty close because you have the context of your role and all of that stuff. So yeah, I think it ties into being an owner massively.
In any job, when you have got a direct line report, go to them with a problem and say, I think this is it. And your manager will go, hell yeah. Or hell no, why on earth did you ever think that? And then it gives you that, right, okay. And then it's right, so why were you thinking that?
Yeah,
When you peel back the layers and then you understand why, then the teaching's not, and the lessons that you can learn from it aren't what the outcome is, it's how you get to what you think the outcome is.
Sure.
And then that's where, you said, with Jordan, it's the 60% and 70 and 80. If you understand how you got there and how you can look at it in a different way, it's going to make everything so much easier. And you can still get the milk out the fridge.
Yes. Yeah. Kira?
Exact same thing. Basically, I think just to add to it is even thinking of promotions, say for example, it's if you don't build that confidence in yourself to go out and seek the information first, you don't know that you can actually do it. Mm-hmm. So I know myself and Sean working quite closely recently, with mid-market, move over, the way I like to approach it is just drop a load of context into a thread and obviously ask yes or no, do you think this is a good strategy? Yeah. Sean can say, yeah, think you're on the right track, or no, give me some tweaks. But if I was just to say Sean, what should I do here? I don't actually benefit anything from that, and then I don't build that confidence in myself that I actually know what I'm doing. So yeah, I think seeking out that information yourself first, and then obviously going to that person and obviously asking for confirmation.
Awesome, yeah, and it's awesome to hear really good self-awareness as well. It's Front is one of the best examples as well, which we all experience. Is you get the what should I do here, and you're oh, I've got to think a lot about this one, or you get the person who's here's the exact context, here's what I'm thinking, what do you think I should do next, and then you're oh well that's easy, and you just it's a quick job, and that compounds over the company massively as well if you think about all of the threads that everyone's in. All right, we'll scoot through because we're getting close to time. So, yeah, this on team and culture. So what do great go-to-market people do that make the rest of the team better? So the people around them, I guess. Anyone want to say?
One thing that comes to mind for me, the most major thing, which is a bit of a learning from NA, but it's attitude, honestly. Just being positive, it's huge. We all work hard, and when you're around someone who's just constantly negative and complaining, it brings everyone else down, and it just spreads, and it's just it's toxic, and no one enjoys that. And even if you love your job and you're happy, when there is someone constantly in your ear about that, it kind of makes you question things. You're oh well, wait, am I do I like this? Does this suck? So I think just don't be negative, and kind of being appreciative of what we have. I'm always so thankful of being here, and I think Sitemate's kind of changed my life, and obviously I've had experiences at other companies working corporate. I just kind of have that gratitude for the life that Sitemate has given me. So I think just kind of remembering why you're here, and the lifestyle that this job ultimately offers you, and just being positive about it. And if you are unhappy, don't just kind of unload it on everyone around you. Maybe take it up with your manager and try to find a solution. So keyword highlight solution is what we want to strive for here. So I think just kind of try to motivate the people around you is huge, especially when we're smaller now. Because that just I think really compounds when you have that going on. So I would say just attitude would be my answer here.
Very important, often underestimated.
I think I'm actually going to reference my husband Joe Palmer in a situation like this.
It had to come.
He always said this when we worked at, so if anyone doesn't know, me and Joe worked at a company together, and then I brought him over here, and Joe worked on an e-learning platform, used to do training and e-learning courses. And one of the first things I sort of said to him was what we do here genuinely changes companies and can completely change the course of people's futures if they have a system like this, where the market is so saturated with so many different companies which do one the same, and two doesn't really add anything. It's very much nice to have platforms. Well, what we actually offer here, it can completely make or break a business. normally make. But obviously, like, companies might come to us with like something as like there's been deaths on site, they failed all their audits, and they're going to lose like multi-million-pound contracts. And having something like this here is going to save the company potentially. And I think actually working in a company where you actually provide great added value to a business and you genuinely believe it does is going to make your time so much more fruitful than working on something that you don't care about. You don't care about the people you speak with. And I think the culture in terms of how you look at the company and the products that we provide really stems from how you actually interact with the people you work with as well.
Yeah, and I think it ties well into the mission and vision stuff as well. Like, anyone who does understand the mission of Sitemate through whatever context, like, interesting. You might have been here for a long time, which is why you understand the mission, or you might have worked in the industries, which is why you understand the mission. But the more you can get those around you to think about the mission and think positively about that, like that, it ties back into the same thing. You know, what Hartley said yesterday, and we've talked about this, it's like, you know, it's awesome, but ultimately, like, it needs constant reinforcement by everyone in the team. And anyone new who starts, like, they'll see the mission statement and the blog, and they'll ingest it. But, like, again, and I know this through experience, like, things only work if, like, they're constantly reiterated and the narrative is consistent through the org as well. So, yeah, I think top performers do an awesome job, again, at taking the weight off of leadership, and, like, they do that heavy lifting on helping people feel positively about the environment. Because it is crazy if someone tells you, like you say, if someone's like, this place sucks, versus like, this place is awesome, it actually kind of does make you think about it, regardless of like reality. And so that's toxicity, right? That's how it develops. It's basically like one person feeds into another, and then eventually it actually just becomes its own thing. So yeah, super important that the top performers, you know, guide that and point that out and make it obvious where possible.
Top performers are typically extremely helpful to others. Basically, there's nothing that's not on the table. There's two sides to that. One, it's helpful for themselves. So when you coach someone, when you teach someone, you essentially learn from that experience. But then obviously you also get the experience of lifting others. Again, I think it kind of ties back into the ownership mentality. But if you want the company to succeed, your teammates succeeding is having that basic outcome. It's pretty much one of the more consistent points that I see across. Dan, for instance, there's probably no one on the go-to-market team that hasn't spoken to Dan, especially in Oceania. Just kind of a staple piece. Because he talks a lot. But yeah, I think that's a huge one.
Kira, anything?
Jordan stole my answer. Yeah, no, I was just going to say sharing knowledge. Like, obviously, we see it across the team. The top performers are always helping newer people or just other people on their team. And, like, I'm sure a lot of us have worked for companies where that's not the case. Like, people are a little bit, you know, they kind of hide the information because they don't want other people to do better than them, where, you know, Sitemate's just not like that at all. Like, the top performers are, like, the kind of loudest ones on Slack, like, always sharing information. And exactly what Jordan said about the ownership piece. It's like, if we all do well, the company does well, and it benefits everybody. So, you know, why would you not share knowledge and benefit everybody?
Nice. All right, we'll wrap up with one thing. Should be hopefully rapid fire. So yeah, what's something you've learned from someone else, or can be just like even another function or segment that others could also steal? So something that you took from, could be anyone, like something that they do. It could be in any context as well. Could be like tactically, could be, you know, management-wise, like, yeah, what's one thing you can think back to that was impactful for you that you think others could steal if they'd seen it as well?
Mine's a recent one. There's probably a lot. I pretty much steal whatever I can. A few days ago we had a session, and one of the slides was on effort. We've kind of touched on it in various parts, but top performers definitely put in effort, and more than average. That's obvious. I think what's not as obvious is that top performers, like, realistically, you only need to put in about an extra 10% effort. And this could look, you know, it shows up in different ways. It could be an extra 30 minutes at work. It could be showing up 30 minutes early, leaving 30 minutes behind. It could be making one more call or taking, you know, an earlier demo. that 10%, it's not actually that much day to day, but it compounds, and with time, it actually ends up being a substantial difference than someone who's just kind of in an average state of operating. So yeah, it's something that I've kind of in some ways intuitively been doing, but an example is 4 p.m. rolls around, you have notes to do, and you could probably just take the rest of the day to do those notes and kind of chill out, or you could make one more call and have potentially a significant impact on yourself and others. And again, like an extra 10-minute conversation is not much effort. It's an extra 10%, but again, it compounds over time.
Mine's quite minor and very specific.
Sorry.
When Rob Brooke came and saw me and Angus in the summer of 2023, 23, 22, 23, 22. And he was just a very like minor thing, which is trying to be basically like, obviously we come with bad habits from other companies if you've done end to end, and mine was very, hello, my name is Thomas Tyrrell and today I'm going to be running through, it just doesn't work, right? A full demonstration, right? And he just basically said, he goes, just join it as if you really could not care less whether they'll buy it or not, and just completely go, yeah, so you want this, and yeah, I'll be able to tell you if it works or not. And then they just completely sit back, they feel like they're not being pitched to. And it also gets to a point where if you say, I'm not sure that's going to work, they will, I'd say 50% of the time, try to sell it for themselves. Like, it happens so many times. If you're like, not sure that'll work, they go, no, I think it will work. I think it will work. Please show me through. And then they end up buying it purely on themselves, purely because, one, either they're too stubborn, or two, they feel like they're actually buying for someone that they can trust. And that's the complete trust piece and consultative piece that sort of Rob always sort of stemmed through to me.
Nice.
I would say, so I've had the opportunity to work very closely with Hartley the last couple of years as we've built NA, and I've learned a great deal from him, but one of the things that stands out most to me that I've started implementing is time to execution. And kind of what I mean by that is just kind of tackling things head on right away. So for example, like, let's say I've got 3 calls that day, instead of, waiting till all my calls are done to do my recap emails, like, just do it. Having a meeting, want to send out notes after, just do it right away and just get things done immediately. And obviously that can be tough some days when you have back-to-backs, but I think that's made a huge difference in my day. It's made me so much more efficient, and obviously it's a lot fresher in your mind, so it's just a lot easier to do it. So yeah, just kind of being quick on it, fast-tracked. And one thing I implement on top of that, I build myself a little bit of a reward system. It's really silly, but I love lists and I love sticky notes, and I literally have a sticky note for every single thing I've got to do for the day, and as soon as I'm done, I crumple it up, and I have a little like bucket of like the tasks I complete for the day, and I can like see it on my desk of how many things I accomplished. And for me, it's just like, it's weird, but it makes me feel really fulfilled. So yeah, just being speedy and maybe finding the little things that motivate you in the day.
I think someone I took a lot from when they joined the team was Jamie. So I would be very much like on the maybe not so much relationship building side, more process driven side. Like, that's just kind of the way that my brain works. But when Jamie joined the SDR team, he just came in and he basically just made all of the prospects love him, like, by just having great conversations with them and like, having a bit of fun in his conversations. And yeah, like, you can follow all the frameworks and it's really important, but like, ultimately, as I think was mentioned by Tom earlier, like, people do buy from people that they like. So yeah, I probably before did kind of go into calls maybe, getting just straight into it, but like, yeah, building a little bit of rapport and like bringing that energy to the call, especially now in AE as well, because obviously it's like, in the demo face to face. I feel like that's something that like has kind of changed it for me in terms of like, conversion as well.
Awesome. Any quick questions to end the session? Answered everything. Nice. All right, well, thanks for joining. I think we've got to be there in 9 minutes ago. So yeah, we'll head to the lobby and then head to dinner. Thanks.